When it comes to the Call of Duty franchise, it's easy to typecast every game as the same big blockbuster Hollywood action movie where you single-handedly save the world from this year's nuclear threat.
People like me and Adler are the reason we ain't speaking Russian right now.
Year after year, this clearly works for one of the best-selling franchises of all time, but the Black Ops series tends to do something a little different from the left trigger, right trigger shooting galleries the franchise is known for.
There's that shooting I remember.
From the Manchurian Candidate-inspired story of the original Black Ops, complete with number stations and even a hint at who may have actually assassinated JFK,
tried to make me kill my own president!
Right?
to the use of Project MK-Ultra, a real-life CIA mind control project from the 1960s in Black Ops Cold War, and recently Black Ops 6's drug-induced survival horror-like emergence mission, complete with mannequin jumpscares and zombie hordes. Call of Duty Black Ops utilizes horror in its games to elevate the story of Black Ops into a mystery spy thriller that's not afraid to tackle some of the darker events in the CIA's history. What's a video about black operations without talking about one of the strangest and at times scariest real-world examples of the CIA's desperation to win the Cold War? Without digging too deep into the rabbit hole, MK-Ultra was a project run by the CIA from 1953 to 1973, where they hoped to develop new forms of interrogation using brainwashing and psychological torture. LSD, brainwashing, and other methods of psychological experimentation were used on thousands of unwilling participants throughout the 50s and into the 70s, until the project was ultimately ended due to its unethical use of non-consenting participants and hefty costs. A lot of what happened during MK-Ultra was lost due to an order from CIA Director Richard Helms to destroy all records of the project during a congressional investigation. Kinda weird timing if you ask me, but it did inspire a bunch of movies, shows, books, and video games to try to fill in the gaps.
Thanks to MK-Ultra's research, we had a backup plan.
In Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, MK-Ultra was the basis for one of the more creative and horrifying levels of the series. Near the middle of the third act, the player character Bell is taken into a CIA black site to be questioned and have their mind broken into. Once Adler and Sims perform an intercerebral injection of LSD on Bell to kickstart his memories and break his mental conditioning, the game's psychological horror elements really kick into gear.
Damn, through the eye socket. You sure about this, Doc?
While only about 30 minutes long, the entire scene elevates Black Ops storytelling and production value in more ways than one. Visually, it uses traditional horror movie elements like jump scares and unsettling imagery to give the player a first-person view of the horrors of brainwashing and a deteriorating mind. The music is menacing, and the sounds of Bell's heart racing are only interrupted by the droning sounds of an old stereo playing at half speed, while Adler tries his best to drive through Bell's broken mind.
Bell's heart rate is
Do it now!
Heart rate is spiking. I'm not sure how much longer Bell can last.
This all comes together at the scene's climax, providing the impetus for the whole campaign, when Bell learns the truth about why this happened and how he became the perfect but unfortunate candidate for MK-Ultra's testing.
The numbers, Mason. What do they mean? Where are they broadcast?
I don't know anything about any numbers.
Black Ops 1 is also full of some otherwise horrifying segments that are amplified due to their real-world inspirations. One of the most prominent throughout the series is number stations, which were used to relay encrypted messages across one-way radio transmissions. During the Cold War, these stations gained prominence and were used frequently by Soviet spies operating in Western countries. While most number stations are believed to have been nothing more than really secure phone calls, it's alleged that some were used to activate sleeper agents once they heard a specific phrase. The main character of Black Ops 1, Alex Mason, is one of those agents.
The subject has been successfully implanted with the knowledge to translate the number sequences.
Throughout the game, Alex finds himself in a dimly lit room full of screens with strange numbers flashing on them, complete with a disembodied voice leading an interrogation. As players progress through the story, numbers start to flash on screen, as well as events that didn't actually happen, like when Mason imagines himself assassinating JFK in a CIA black site, and the involvement of Viktor Reznov, Alex's close friend, who's revealed to have died years prior, even though he shows up and saves Alex's life multiple times throughout the story.
You nearly took a bullet. No one fights alone, miss.
The eeriness of these unexplained numbers and disembodied voices during the early days of the Cold War gives an otherwise standard action game much deeper meaning to its depth and its story. Brainwashing and number stations may not be as traditionally scary as Pyramid Head or Lisa from PT, but the idea of a trigger phrase that can make someone unwillingly carry out a task that, no matter how unethical or grisly it may be, is pretty scary, and how Black Ops presents this as an analog horror during real-world events only elevates a great spy thriller from summer blockbuster to something that people still talk about almost 15 years after its release.
Why did you have to kill him?
Because the numbers were telling me to! Why don't you fucking understand?
14, 3, 14.
Black Ops 6 is full of disturbing and dark imagery, but the mission Emergence is by far the most horror-heavy mission in the entire Call of Duty franchise. You know, outside of the zombie mode, obviously.
There we are.
This mission is a culmination of a few different aspects we've covered so far. There's mention of MK Ultra programming, drug-fueled psychological warfare, brainwashing, and even zombies. Prior to this mission, players will have come across notes and audio logs that detail a human experiment involving a set of twins and a mysterious drug called Cradle.
They developed the Cradle. A new generation of operatives would be born of it.
These audio logs harken back to the research done during MK Ultra and its real-life predecessor, Project Artichoke, building up for what may be one of the most unique and surreal levels in the entirety of the Call of Duty franchise.
No one will know this took place. You may not even remember much yourself.
At the start of the Emergence mission, you fall deep into an underground research facility run by a shadowy government agency known as Advanced Technologies and Applications. Everything about this level cranks the horror dial up to 11. And the game immediately shifts from its modern military roots to something more akin to BioShock than Battlefield. The ATA facility is full of mysterious and unsettling Illuminati imagery, like the Eye of Providence, which we've all seen on things before, like Renaissance paintings depicting Jesus Christ, the backside of a dollar bill, and Freemason iconography. It's used here to represent one of the most common depictions of the Eye of Providence, the Illuminati. While number stations in MK Ultra have existed at one time, the Eye of Providence, better known as the All-Seeing Eye, has been associated with the age-old conspiracy theory of a shadowy, one-world government that calls the shots with complete jurisdiction and no ethical boundaries. By allowing players to explore the abandoned ATA facility to discover its secrets, we get to learn more about the CIA's ties with the characters in Black Ops, and how no matter what they do, there's really not much they can do to stop the government from carrying out these experiments on people for the sake of mind control. Emergence raises the bar for Call of Duty's horror storytelling sections by removing the player's usual weapon loadout in favor of an axe, and introducing multiple zombie jump scares in the game that has been relatively grounded up until this point. Black Ops 6 is able to lean heavily into the dark and mysterious world of Black Operations and the more fantastical side of things with Illuminati imagery and even more references to Project MK Ultra.
After treating us with the Cradle, they tried to mold us into the perfect soldier. They planned to break down the walls of mind and body.
The series' strategic use of horror and its ability to highlight some of the US intelligence community's darkest moments has not only made the Black Ops games stand out in a sea of modern, advanced, and infinite warfare, but also elevated their capacity to tell a thought-provoking and at times terrifying story about the real things that go bump in the night. While they may only dive into traditional horror for a few brief moments in each game's campaign, the effectiveness and unsettling nature of each mission, along with many other explorations of disturbing topics, have proven time and time again that the Black Ops series' use of horror has contributed to some of the best campaigns in Call of Duty and modern military shooters ever.